Great game from Louisiana as they are bowl eligible for the 5th consecutive season. They went to San Marcos with a decisive victory. We're going to chat with the head coach now. The Coach Michael Desormeaux interview brought to you by La Pizzeria, your neighborhood restaurant for over 25 years. They don't just do pizza, right? They specialize in all kinds of delicious Italian cuisines with a little Cajun flair, right? The Cajun Italian dishes that are unique to La Pizzeria, 2 locations, one in Lafayette, one in Karen Crow. Coach, first off, good morning. Before we talk football, I mean, how much did you eat on Thanksgiving? Be honest.
Well, I always feel like I'm going to be able to eat a little bit more than I do. And I get there and I fix this big plate and I have all these plans for dessert and everything. And usually I get about halfway through that plate and I'm about done. So I'm guilty of doing that pretty much every year. My eyes are, I guess, a little bigger than my stomach on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, man. In my younger days, I could just handle plate after plate. Now it's like I make one big plate, and then I'm like, I need to sit down, and I'd rather not have to get up for a while. But it's
right.
But you guys, you had gumbo into the mix as well, right? As like sort of like a pregame before the big meal. I mean, did you enjoy the gumbo?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So the gumbo was like an appetizer, so I ate that at like 2:00. Just a little bit of it, and then we ate for real at 4. So it was, the gumbo kind of gets it all kicked off a little bit, and then from there you got to try to pace yourself throughout the rest of the afternoon and the evening.
Well, I know one thing you guys are thankful for is getting bowl eligible. Right now there are 79 bowl eligible teams. There are 82 slots, but feels safe to say you guys are playing somewhere and. I guess we'll learn more at a later date. People have different projections. But overall, man, what's seeing a guy – let me start with Eric Gare, right, because I just played the clip. We got to talk to him after, and I've always thought this guy – I mean, he's played for 5 seasons, not just he has played a lot. He will get to play in a 5th bowl game. And when you see a guy that I think, is going to be playing on Sundays one day, but a guy that wanted that extra game so bad – you guys have told us, right? The seniors, they want to keep playing, man. Sometimes, seniors, some of them are like, okay, that's it. Regular season's done. Let me move on to the next thing. It doesn't feel like that thought ever really crossed the mind of your seniors, and it felt like the underclassmen all just they wanted that more for the seniors getting that 13th game than they did for themselves.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I mean, and it's one of the things that you kind of can't control as a coaching staff is you can't really control, how your team feels at the end of the year. Look, let's face it. Coming into this season, these guys had won a bunch of games, and they were, we were planning on winning the Western Division title again, and rolling through this thing, and and it just kind of rolling the same way that it had been. But the reality is that's not the way it worked out. And we had some struggles that we had to grow through early on, and we had to kind of figure out what our deal was for this team, what our MO would be, how we would win games. And there were a lot of ups and downs in that. And, man, a lot of kids would have just said, well, you know what, I've had my run. Like, this it's not worth fighting for. Try to get to a bowl game. I already played in bowl games. I'm good. And as a head coach, you can't really control that feeling that the leadership has, that your team has, the way they feel. But, this team, I mean, my goodness, they've just every week they have just shown up and worked their tails off. And, even the games that we didn't play great, it wasn't because there was a lack of effort all week. It wasn't because, they didn't want to go out there and win. They just, these guys just did it the right way the entire year. And, I'm so proud of them. I'm so thankful this week that they get another game because it meant so much to them. I mean, when I walked out there for pregame warm-ups on Saturday, I said, "Oh, so we'll be just fine." I mean, we had a great week of practice. All that stuff was good, but when you got out there on the field, I just knew that it was going to be a good day for us.
Coach Michael Desormeaux, our guest. It's a great Scott show. 103.3 The GOAT simulcast on 1420. The game specifically, a few questions. Let's start on, I guess, an area that I know that you guys pride yourselves on, that it wasn't your best day on Saturday, and that's the run defense. It felt like, Lincoln had a big day. Overall, when you look at the tape, is it more just gap assignment and being sound, and it got away from you guys just a little bit?
Well, it's a little bit of both. The thing that we were trying to do on defense, especially on some of the early downs, where they're using play action pass to get guys open down the field. We had a few more guys in coverage. We had some of the three safety structure stuff going on, and when you're in the three safety structure, you are a little bit short in the gap schemes in the run game. You got to fly to the football. You got to get guys on the ground. So, we were giving up some chunks in that, and I say chunks. We were giving up some yardage in that, which we could live with. We knew that. We just got to rally, tackle, get them on the ground, and get them into situations where we knew they were going to throw the ball. I think the thing that was probably the most disappointing for us when we went back and watched it was, the two long runs that they had. We should have been, gapped out. We should have been good there. That was just kind of a misfit deal, and it's, and look, to their credit, Coach Spavital's called a lot of football games. He knows how to call it and package it, and he had some good stuff planned. But the two long runs were just, we didn't fit it right. Up front, we didn't get our hands on the down linemen, keep them off the linebackers. We didn't get over the top and make the play. And then, the worst thing is that we had opportunities to get them on the ground on both those long runs for a chunk play, for 10 to 15. Instead, it turns into one of them 60-something. I think both of them around 60 yards. So that was probably the most disappointing. If you can take those out, and even if you cut those runs down to 15-yard runs, you're sitting here today saying, well, we went in there. The game plan was we're going to make them run it and rally and tackle. And, certainly we were able to keep them to 13 points, which in the end, that's the most important thing. But, yeah, like I say all the time, whether you win or you lose, you got to go back and look at it and find some things that, you did well, but you need to continue to do well, and some things that you got to clean up. So that was a little bit of the issue there. Some of it we knew we were going to give them some run looks. But the big thing is that, you just can't let them go for big ones like that.
You mentioned looking at the tape, looking at things you didn't do well, and obviously looking at things you did do well. You did a lot well, 41-13 the final. After watching the film, what stood out the most? What in your mind was the biggest positive from Saturday's performance?
Well, I think the biggest positive for us as a team on Saturday was just, if you look at, obviously, Florida State was a little bit of a different deal for us. We were a little bit outmatched in that game. But, you look at the last two conference games we played against Georgia Southern and Texas State, we played really good team football. On special teams, we covered kicks. We got returns on defense. Even Saturday night, we gave up some yards. But, we got two turnovers. We got a fumble. We got an interception return. They forced numerous 3-and-outs. Right before half, our defense helped us set up a 10-point swing right before halftime. EG gets the pick, returns it down. They get a penalty. We score. Then we get a stop. I think it was maybe a 5-play drive, but it didn't take long. We get a stop. They punt it, and then Eric returns it back to almost the 50-yard line. We get a field goal out of that. So, those are the things that we talked about, having to play good complementary football, having to play field position. We had to do it. And certainly, truthfully, our offensive line, I think, really probably handled those guys a lot better than I anticipated going into the game. Watching them play, I was absolutely pretty concerned. About, being able to block those guys consistently and covering them up. But I thought our guys did a great job on offense doing that.
Yeah, 436 total yards, team effort running the ball, obviously. A lot of different players caught passes. Michael Jefferson, 6 catches, 81 yards, kind of another day at the office for him. And Chandler Fields, after the game, was asked about, do you have any what's your chemistry like with Jefferson? And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I think any quarterback has chemistry with a player like that. What's something about, Michael, I think folks have seen him on the field this season, Coach, but maybe what's something about him that, the common fan might not know about the young man, whether it be on the field, off the field, a little bit on him?
Well, so what I tell, the NFL scouts, obviously they ask about him they ask about him, everyone who comes through here. And, the thing I tell them, obviously, these guys, that's what they do for a living. The guy's, he's freaky, right? He's long, he's fast, he can sink his hips, he's got great hand. They can see all that. The thing I tell them all the time is, you're going to get the same guy every single day. Like, he is as low maintenance of a receiver, of a player, as you can possibly get. Like, if the guy goes out there, against Southern Miss, he had, I don't know, whatever it was, 8-10 catches for 180-something yards. He walks in the building the next day exact same way as whenever he went out there and had early in the year. I think he had a game where he had 2 catches for 25 yards. It doesn't matter to him. He goes out there, he plays hard. What common fans probably don't see is watching the guy block on the perimeter. He goes in there and throws it up in there, sticks his face in it. We're playing Florida State, okay, and it's the last punt block of the game. So we're on punt block. The game's over. We pretty much told MJ, look, we're not going to play you anymore. He went down and asked Coach Pascal if he could get it on punt block on the front line because he wanted to go play on punt block at the end of the game with no time left. And, so he gets in there and goes play on punt block, one more play just because, he's a backup typically on it, but he wanted to go and take a rep, so he did. That's the kind of kid that he is. Like, he's a joy to be around. He loves to practice. He loves to play the game of football. It doesn't matter what you ask him to do. He's going to do it. He's excited about doing it. The guy runs down the field and makes more tackles on punt than probably anybody else on the punt team, and he doesn't have to do that here. If he came up to me and said, Coach, man, I'm just too tired. I can't do it. I'm not going to go, then I wouldn't make him because he does play a ton of snaps on offense. But, the weeks that we try to take him out and spell him, he's constantly fighting his way back in there. He's like, no, I'm good. And, he goes down there and he runs down and makes plays. So he's a kid that's incredibly grateful for everything that he's got, which I appreciate. I don't think the guy ever has a bad day. He just shows up and he's the same guy every single day. And I appreciate that.
Coach Michael Desormeaux, our guest. A few more players to highlight, Coach, some of the younger guys. I asked you about it after the game. We asked Chris Smith about it as well. Zion Chris got in. You had a comfortable lead. You were able to play some guys. Lance Lejeune, who, we've seen at times this year. I remember talking to you before the season, right? Well, he was a quarterback, but he's such a great athlete. Might we see him on the field at other spots this year? And you told me it kind of depends on him, right? I could definitely see that because you know from experience, Coach. You were a guy that just you played quarterback, but you played a lot of positions. And Lance obviously took the challenge and played receiver this year. And there have been those brief moments where we see him and, the play doesn't fully develop or you could just see, man, it's close, but it's not quite there. Your leading receiver on Saturday night was Lance Lejeune. He tied with Jefferson in terms of receiving yards, but, he has the 37-yarder. He has the touchdown from Chris Smith. We asked him about those guys. He said, they're the future of the program. But what can you say about both of those guys really in that moment that they got to have? And, we kind of just see moments on game day, but there's a whole story behind, I would imagine, a lot of stuff that led up to that moment.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And I talked to you guys a little bit about Lance and kind of, just the difficulties I think that he's had, the struggles that he's been through coming from high school. And, you go, he was on this Elite 11 show and all this stuff. And, his whole life, it's, you're the next, whatever at quarterback, and all these things. And, he goes to Maryland. It doesn't work out. He comes here and kind of, got behind on the depth chart early. And, we tried to bring him back to life. And, he had a good spring for us. In fall camp, started fall camp really good, and then just kind of fell behind. Just fell behind the other guys. Just didn't feel like he operated as well as the other guys, but it had nothing to do with him, not wanting to do it, not trying, not being a great kid, not having the athletic ability to do it. It was just, just felt like some of the other guys operated a little bit better, and and I talked to him about making the position switch, and I told him, I said, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. I said, but, you have to understand that, I believe that the guy's going to play in the NFL at wide receiver. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind, especially if this offseason he'll just immerse himself in it and really learn it and be a pro at it. He'll play in the NFL at wide receiver. And, and this year he's done a really good job. Every week he shows up and he goes to work and he makes plays in the practice field that you're just like, oh my goodness, like that's unbelievable. It's not supposed to happen. And, but it's all about consistency, right? And being able to do it when you need to do it, how you need to do it. And, he's continually gotten better as the year's going on, and he's played in quite a few games. He's obviously getting more time now. It's not that we were targeting him anymore this game. He was just put himself in position through practice and preparation to be more of a normal part of the rotation. So, the 2nd and 10, the big one, the first one they called, the 24-yard gain, to get us down inside the red zone, that play was something that we felt really good about in that down and distance in that field zone. And it wasn't a Lance play. It was for the X receiver that we thought we could get open, and Lance happened to be in the rotation. So, he's put himself in position to do that, and I'm so proud of him because it's not easy, man. And then, not only on top of that, you move to receiver, and you're behind MJ and John Stevens, who are both pretty darn good. So you're sitting there like, man, I made this move. Is this even worth it? But, for him, it is worth it to get the experience this year, and then moving forward, next year it'll be him, and obviously there's more people there that'll be competing, but the guy's going to be in position to go out there and for 2 years just be the starter at X and get as many plays as he can get, and and have other guys playing, rotating with him, but, he has a chance to be the guy the next 2 years. So, I'm incredibly proud of Lance, just to see him just kind of buckle it up every day, come to work, and find a way to go out there and go get through it. And he's done a great job for us. And Zion, you guys can see it. That guy is going to be really, really special. And he's made so much progress for a true freshman to see it and to know it like he does. He's a little different. He really is. That guy he's got a bright future ahead of him. Incredibly intelligent, certainly very athletic, great arm strength, can really run. But he'll be the total package. He's smart. He knows it. He's been a sponge this year, sitting right there with Ben and Chandler and those older guys that really know it. He just sits there and listens and takes notes, and the guy's going to be really good. We're excited about him.
Coach Michael Desormeaux, our guest. Good stuff. Louisiana's Ragin Cajuns get their 6th win. Before I ask you about a 13th game, Coach, real quick, I meant to ask you this a few weeks ago, and then I got sick and I was out. It was a listener question, more kind of a practice philosophy. When it comes to, like, padded practices, tackling, when to rev it up, when not to, do you have a guideline you follow, a dogma, or is it sort of week to week? What is your approach to physicality in practice and when you guys sort of say, all right, we're going to lace them up today, and when you say, all right, we're not going to do that, whether it be today, this week, or what have you?
Yeah, no, there's kind of a plan that we follow that we believe in, that I've seen work, and I don't necessarily think that you can go day to day where the kids don't really know what to expect. I think they have to know that, okay, on Tuesday practice, all right, this is how we practice, this is what we do, this is the physicality that it needs to be done at, and there are no question marks along the way. Everyone knows exactly what's expected of them. As far as tackling goes, like I've seen a lot of stuff in the media, like people talk about coaches that don't tackle in practice. That's why their teams don't tackle. Well, they don't tackle in practice. No college football teams tackle to the ground in practice. No one does that. You stop the run, you thud. Now, some of them do a better job of that than others. But we are true thud tempo. Like when there's a ball carrier and it's a head-to-head collision, the defender is expected to stick his face in it, wrap him up, get a stop, And once he gets the stop, rip at the ball, let the ball carrier go, and the ball carrier finishes. So, we do practice physical, and that's part of it. That's the way that it's always – I shouldn't say always. Since, the last 5 years, that's the way we do it here.
Gotcha.
Tuesday, Wednesday practices are going to be physical. They're going to be fast. That's the way that we do it. And, we take care of the guys that have injury history and the guys that need to be taken care of. But, you can't tackle to the ground in practice. You can't simulate that. So the only way to do it is by doing thud and wrapping them up, getting a stop, and letting them out. And you have to block at full speed. You have to get off of blocks full speed. And that's just, now as the year goes on, we will maybe taper off on some more periods, maybe turn like at the back end of it, turn a couple of periods into walkthrough periods, things like that to take a little bit off of the players. But, I believe the reason that we get better every year as the year goes on is because of the way we practice. We don't stop. We don't stop doing the fundamental things that make us better. And, you should peak at the end of the year. You should continue to play better. And I can sit here and look at it and say the last 5 years, I think we have. I believe in the way that we do it and have done it. And certainly it's unfortunate that you have a couple guys that get hurt in practice. That's something that you certainly never want to see. But it ends up being a greater good thing that for the whole team, we haven't had many of those situations. We've had a handful over the years, but, for the greater good, I think you're better off doing it, and you just got to continue to educate your players and coach them on being smart, taking care of each other. You can go hard and not be out of control and not hurt somebody. So you just got to continue to coach them to do it the way you want them to do it. And, there's only one way to get better, and there's only one way to practice at a game like tempo, and that's the only way we know how to do it.
Coach Michael Desormeaux, our guest. All right, Coach, I'm going to let you run here in a minute. Bowl game. How much? I know it's a developing situation, right? And fans can look at, okay, here are projections. This bowl rep was at the game, and this bowl rep was at that game, and well, if this team gets bowl eligible, they have a slot here and there. How much do you follow the day to day? Do you have, is Dr. Maggard sort of filling you in on possibilities, or are you just like, look, I'm just going to wait, and once we find out, we'll know. And in the meantime, I'm just going to, take care of my business.
Well, I'm as excited as anybody to know. I think part of it is for us, just so we know game plan wise what direction to start heading. But the reality is that, right now it doesn't matter. Even if I knew who we were playing, this week would be about us. This week would be about us getting the old guys enough reps to stay short, right? And then getting the young guys a lot of reps so that they can improve and they can continue to work. I talked to you guys about how important I think these bowl games are for those youngsters. So even if I knew exactly who we're playing and when, this week would be about us. So, that's not that big of a concern. Certainly I'm anxious and excited and want to know for our kid. But I told them this last week. I don't care who we play. I don't care where we play. I don't care when we play. It's a game that this team has earned. And I told them, I said, it's better than being at home. It's better than being at home and not having one, because I've been there. And, we're going to go to work this week. We're going to practice. We're going to have a really good practice with these guys, and they're going to work hard at it. I did text Dr. Maggard last night. It's like anything. I think, it's just there's too many moving parts to really know. So people text me all the time, hey, I saw this bowl. I saw that bowl. It's like, well, it's like 5 different bowls. So,
yeah.
Until someone calls me and tells me when and where, then I'm just going to keep worrying about what we can control and keep trying to get our guys moving forward this week. Certainly this is a big week for academics. It's the week before finals. So we got to do a good job and finish up strong there. And certainly, those things are important, for our guys. They've got to continue to stay on track. Graduation, like I tell them all, it's the most important thing they're going to do here. And so, we're going to try try to finish up this semester really well, and that way we can go to this bowl game and just really have a good time and get ready to go play.
School record, 5th consecutive year of being bowl eligible. Louisiana got the win on Saturday over Texas State and got to bowl eligibility. And once they know, we'll know, and all of you will know, and you can make your plans. And I know you guys will be going for that 7th win. Coach, it's been awesome talking to you Mondays this season, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm glad we get to do it one more time, week of the bowl game, whenever or wherever it is. Look forward to talking to you about it, and in the meantime, we'll see you out around the facility at some of the media-related things, but I just appreciate you taking the time this season, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. I always enjoy it. Just let me know whenever you want to get it done, and we'll make sure we get it done one more time.
Looking forward to it, Coach. I'll let you get to work. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, that is Louisiana Ragin Cajun head football coach Michael Desormeaux.